Reborn as the villain, the Crown Prince's revenge. After death, I learned that I was the villain in a male-oriented harem novel. My fiancée, Lena, was the female lead. I had given her an ancestral jadeite ring, but she immediately passed it to the male lead, Ethan. The luxury house and car I bought for her were never accessible to me, but she let Ethan use them freely. I provided resources, spent money to support her family, and even begged my parents to invest in her projects to raise her status. Finally, I managed to marry Lena, but she thought I had forced her into the marriage. On our wedding night, she held a knife to her own neck and said, "I accept your gifts and proposal, but that doesn't mean I accept your love. I need time to adjust." I chose to respect her. But when Ethan was bitten by a snake, she unhesitatingly used her body to detoxify him. Afterward, I went to confront Ethan, but he killed me with a flying needle that struck my vital point. Rebirth, the day everything changed. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I gave Lena the ring, the playground of Shorewood Medical University. All the students' eyes were focused on one place. "Len, haven't I made myself clear enough? You only rely on your family, using money to show off. You're not worthy of my Lena's love. Even the most luxurious jadeite can't cover up your vulgarity." The people around us whispered. Lena is indeed the campus belle. She didn't even put the jade ring in her eyes, she rejected it as soon as she said it. Reject my ass. She just put it on her hand. Are you blind? Really? If she accepted the ring, why would she still reject young Master Lee? Looking at the familiar playground and the young, beautiful Lena in front of me, I finally realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the day I gave Lena the jadeite ring. Remembering my miserable fate in my previous life, I couldn't wait to kill the woman in front of me. In my past life, I had fallen madly in love with Lena at first sight. I provided resources, spent money to support her family, and even begged my parents to invest in her projects to raise her status. She never let me near the luxury house and car I bought for her. I even gave her my ancestral jadeite ring, but in the end, she gave it to Ethan, allowing him to awaken his divine doctor talent. Finally, she squeezed out all my value, causing my family to be ruined. The Lena in front of me was still chattering endlessly. "Len, I'm telling you, accepting a gift doesn't mean anything. I won't like you if you know what's good for you. Go cancel the engagement." How blind was I in my previous life to have taken a fancy to someone like this? "Okay, I promise you. I'll go cancel the engagement tomorrow." Hearing this, Lena was stunned. "You're willing to cancel the engagement?" I nodded. If I didn't get rid of this kind of person, would I let her kill me again? Just kidding, I don't have masochistic tendencies. Seeing me not back down, Lena's attitude became uncharacteristically gentle. She no longer looked at me with so much disgust. "It's good that you've thought it through. Then it's settled. I'll wait for you at home tomorrow to cancel the engagement." Saying that, she turned to leave. "Wait." Lena stopped, impatient. "Len, what do you mean? You wouldn't go back on your word, would you?" I looked at the jadeite ring on her finger and pointed at it. "Since we're going to cancel the engagement, give the ring back to me. After all, it's my family heirloom, meant for my future daughter-in-law." Lena looked at me in disbelief. "Len, what do you mean? You're asking for a gift back after you've given it away. Aren't you ashamed? You're a good-for-nothing. I don't blame you for not understanding worldly affairs. Take back what you just said and apologize to me, and I'll forgive you." Her intention was clear, she wasn't going to return it. The surrounding students were also shocked. Wants to cancel the engagement but also wants to take back the gift. Isn't this wanting to have your cake and eat it too? Low-class men, even taking back a gift given to a girl, disgusting behavior. That's a king's green jadeite ring. It was left by his elders for their future daughter-in-law. Since they can't get married, of course it needs to be returned. Listening to the surrounding discussions, Lena's face turned ugly. She curled her lips and said meaningfully, "Len, it's just the king's green jadeite ring, right? Are you really going to be this shameless?" My tone turned completely cold. "Give it to me." Surrounded by onlookers, Lena couldn't refuse and had no choice but to take off the ring. But she hesitated to hand it over, it was such a valuable item, and she was reluctant to return it to me. But if she didn't, her reputation would be ruined. For a moment, Lena was stuck between a rock and a hard place. At that critical moment, a handsome-looking boy stepped forward. He glanced at the ring discreetly, protecting Lena behind him. A gift that's been given can't be taken back. That's the rule, and it has nothing to do with the value of the gift. Aren't you conscience-stricken for forcing an innocent girl like this? Ethan. In an instant, the hatred from my previous life surged into my heart. I used all my strength to restrain the urge to tear him apart. Ethan was the male protagonist in my past life. He awakened his divine doctor skills after obtaining my ancestral ring and plowed his way through everything, ultimately making my whole family stepping stones for him. In this life, I wanted to see how he became the male lead without the opportunity. One favor. Really? You're giving me a favor? Ethan's words attracted the student's attention. His tone became increasingly righteous. We are a nation of etiquette. If a gift that's been given is taken back, where will the etiquette be? Len, you wanted to retrieve a gift because of your own selfish desires. It's really inappropriate. People like you are ruining the atmosphere of our country. Quickly apologize to Lena and promise not to ask for the gift back, and I'll persuade her to forgive you. The surrounding students whispered. What Ethan said makes a lot of sense, but I feel like something's not quite right. I just can't put my finger on it. His angle for analyzing the problem is very novel. My head feels itchy. I think I'm about to grow a brain. The protagonist halo was indeed powerful. Most of the students were bewitched by Ethan. Only a few maintained a clear head. Seeing Ethan become more and more smug, I sneered inwardly. Did he think he could achieve his goal by using moral blackmail? I immediately took out my phone and called the police. Hello, police. There's a robbery, a king's green ring worth 200 million. Hearing this, Ethan and Lena's faces changed. Ethan lowered his voice and questioned me, are you really going to be so ruthless? What he said was ridiculous. It was clearly them who wanted to keep my treasure without returning it, yet they still had the nerve to question me as if it was all my fault. I gave him a cold glance, not interested in paying attention. Ethan didn't panic either. He put his hands behind his back and said to me with a condescending attitude, immediately tell the police that it was a false alarm and promise not to ask for the ring back anymore, and I'll consider owing you a favor. After saying that, he raised his chin at me, as if saying, you're getting a great deal. I, a subway old man, looked at him with a puzzled face. This idiot, I owe you a favor, and he wants to take away my ancestral emerald ring worth 200 million. Is his brain all right? I rolled my eyes and quietly waited for the police to arrive. Shorewood Medical University was a key university. There was a police station right next to the school, only a 2-minute drive away. After I called the police, a police car quickly roared over. The leading officer came up and asked, who called the police? I glanced at Ethan, who was pretending to be calm, and pointed at Lena. I called the police. She's refusing to return my ring worth 200 million. The leading officer had an eye for quality. With just a glance, he could tell that the ring in Lena's hand was worth a lot. Instantly, his expression turned serious. This student, is this ring the complainant's? Lena stammered, it's his, but he already gave it to me, so it's mine. I stepped forward and explained the reason for the broken engagement. The police politely advised Lena, such a valuable item, even if it's just an engagement gift, let alone a betrothal gift, can be reclaimed after a divorce. Please return the ring to the complainant immediately. Seeing that Lena could no longer hold onto the ring, Ethan could no longer hold back. He decided to start with the police officer in charge. With a displeased expression, he stepped forward and blocked the police officer's path, still with that condescending attitude, repeating the words he had said to me to the police officer. This matter has nothing to do with you. Leave here immediately, and I'll owe you a favor. Afraid that the police would believe him, he pretentiously added, sooner or later, you'll know how rare my favor is. Here we go again. He was actually saying the police had nothing to do with this. What kind of logic was that? This was a public security dispute. The police came to mediate after receiving a police call. How could it have nothing to do with him? Moreover, this protagonist was too thick-skinned. He wanted to get things done but didn't want to put in any effort. A simple, "I owe you a favor," was supposed to be worth everything. Is your favor a mass-distributed one? Truly worthy of being the protagonist, traveling the world without any skill, relying entirely on brute force? Unfortunately, the police weren't brainwashed by Ethan. He sternly warned him, "This male student, please do not interfere with our investigation. You, Lena, if you refuse to return the ring, please come with us to the police station." Lena's face turned pale with fright, but she tightly gripped the ring in her hand, refusing to hand it over, looking at Ethan with pleading eyes as if only this extraordinary man could give her peace of mind. Ethan looked at her with heartache. His heart was breaking. Don't worry. Leave this to me to handle." Saying that, he ignored the police's warning, stepped up to me solemnly, and said decisively, "Len, I admit you won this time. I'll make the biggest concession, I owe you 2 favors. You can decide who I treat. Is that okay?" I was shocked by his words. If I hadn't been reborn, I might have been fooled by his confident tone. But before obtaining the inheritance inside the ring, Ethan's medical skills, while good, weren't at the level of an expert. What gave him the confidence to be so sure of himself? Owes me 2 favors and wants to treat people. How can you be so confident? I gave him a cold glance and turned to the police for help. I want to report him for practicing medicine illegally. Police, this student can't treat people without a medical license. It's seriously irresponsible to other people's lives. Also, if you continue to interfere with the investigation, I will begin to enforce the law. Ethan was stunned, wanting to speak but not knowing what to say. He could only watch helplessly as Lena returned the ring to me. I put the ring on my ring finger and couldn't help but sigh. The protagonist's earth-shattering opportunity is now mine. I'll see how he roams the city without my ancestral ring. Truly, the protagonist blessed by fate. Ethan had already realized in the darkness that this ring was extremely important to him. He rushed over quickly to snatch the ring, even though the police were still on the scene. Of course, the police wouldn't sit idly by and immediately stopped him. However, they underestimated the importance of this ring to Ethan. It could be said that for it, the protagonist could disregard everything. Thus, in full view of everyone, Ethan waved his fist and charged toward me. The police, of course, wouldn't stand idly by. They quickly intervened to stop him, and the outcome was naturally without suspense. After being subdued, Ethan stared blankly at his own fist. I didn't want to. Why did you have to stop me? You don't know how important it is to me. But it was too late for regrets. Student, you have serious violent tendencies and mental issues. Come with us to make a statement. Ethan could only obediently be taken away by the police. He kept looking back on the way, his expression unwilling as he looked at the ring in my hand. Lena glared at me hatefully. Brother Ethan just wanted that ring. He didn't do anything wrong. He already resorted to robbery, and he didn't do anything wrong. Your values must be shattered. My classmates also discussed among themselves. Damn, what did I just see? Robbing someone in front of the police, is Ethan's brain filled with water? Lena is stubbornly refusing to return the ring. Ethan must have told her to. Lena looked at Ethan being taken into the police car with heartache. She was momentarily at a loss, so she had to turn her gaze to me. Quickly give the ring to brother Ethan. I can allow you not to break off the engagement. I looked at Lena with a smile that wasn't a smile. Seeing the ring return to my hand, both the male and female protagonist panicked. The male protagonist lost his mind and resorted to force to snatch it and had already been taken away by the police. The female protagonist was also single-mindedly trying to get the ring. Unfortunately, it was useless. I wouldn't give them the opportunity. Stay away from me. The police haven't gone far yet. Do you also want to go keep Ethan company? Lena glanced at me with apprehension. Speak. What do you want? Give the ring to brother Ethan. Me. Get lost. The ring needs a blood oath to gain its inheritance. To avoid any complications. I secretly bit my finger. The blood smeared on the green ring's surface, and immediately, a warm current surged in, and a huge inheritance memory began to integrate into my body. A few minutes later, the inheritance was complete. I felt an inexhaustible strength all over my body, and my mind was not only filled with medical skills but also with various kinds of knowledge. No wonder in the previous life, after Ethan obtained the inheritance, not only was his medical skill superb, saving important people anytime and anywhere and gaining connections, but he also played with gambling, treasure appraisal, and wealth was readily available. However, this great opportunity was now mine. Ethan had already finished his statement and returned to the classroom. He quickly found me. "Give me the ring. You can name your price." Suddenly, he seemed to realize something and stared blankly at the ring on my hand. Why do I suddenly feel nothing? Ethan's face was wooden, as if he had lost his parents. "This thing clearly belongs to me. Why did you steal it?" The key opportunity had been plundered. The protagonist halo on Ethan's body had faded a lot, and the whole person looked less extraordinary than before, even a little wretched. "Whatever you want. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, I will go to the Lin family to break off the engagement." After speaking, I didn't bother to look at this dog couple again and turned to leave. Breaking the engagement. The next day, the Lin family's reception hall. I took out the marriage contract and placed it on the table, stating my purpose directly. "Today, I, Len Li, am here to break off the engagement. From now on, Lena Lin and I will have nothing to do with each other's marriages." Lena's father was shocked. "Young Master Li, why do you want to break off the engagement? This marriage is not a child's play. Are you and Lena having a conflict?" Lena's mother also chimed in from the side. Relying on my past simp-like behavior, her opening was to accuse me. "I still understand Lena. Are you misunderstanding her friendship with Ethan? If you ask me, men must be generous. You can't just be in a relationship with her and then not talk to other opposite sexes, right?" "Friendship?" I looked at Lin's mother in surprise. "Is it the kind of friendship where Lena refuses to let the doctor intervene and uses her body to help Ethan resolve the snake venom? If that's friendship, it's too pure, right? So pure that not even a scrap of cloth can fit between them." I suddenly felt disgusted by those words. My voice turned cold. "Ethan is being sponsored by you, isn't he? Whether it's friendship between him and Lena, the Lin family knows the truth in their hearts." I directly laid it all out. Lin's father looked guilty and didn't dare to speak. After all, the Lin family was built up by my own hand. Even his position as head of the family was due to my influence. Lin's mother didn't care about any of that. She looked at me with a smug expression. "So what if Lena likes Ethan? If you're a man, you should compete fairly, diligently pursue her, and win her true heart instead of being petty and suspicious all day long. Besides, my daughter is a scientific research genius. Her startup company is about to go public. What's wrong with her having a few talented young men around her? If you want to break off the engagement, then break it off. After all, you're just the son of a high-level executive. Your status isn't worthy of my daughter's startup company going public." Looking at Lin's mother's arrogant demeanor, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Did she actually think that Lena had built her company to the point of going public based on her own scientific research capabilities? Her garbage research project would have gone bankrupt long ago if I hadn't invested resources and found her marketing channels. It was me who begged my parents to poach a top-notch research team to create a flagship product for her that was about to succeed. They actually think they've gotten this far entirely because of Lena's abilities. Without me, Lena is nothing. She still wants the company to go public. Keep dreaming. Looking at their smug, small-minded appearances, I abandoned the idea of exposing them. Let them have this dream for a little longer so that the moment the beautiful dream shatters, it will be even more painful. I couldn't be bothered to argue with them anymore. I took out the betrothal agreement and tore it up. Lin's mother glanced at me with disdain. Without hesitation, she folded the 2 copies of the betrothal agreement together and tore them apart with force. Lin's father looked at me but didn't stop her. Like Lin's mother, he also felt that I was just the son of a high-level executive of the Glory Group, not worthy of Lena's entrepreneurial genius status. Even though I had long known the virtues of their entire family, I still felt a sense of loss with the engagement dissolved. Lin's father and Lin's mother no longer bothered to pretend. "Young Master Li, since the engagement has been broken off, we won't keep you as a guest." I looked at them in surprise. Did they forget something? Before I leave, shouldn't they return the betrothal gifts first? Unexpectedly, Lin's father, who had been friendly just now, suddenly changed his expression. What betrothal gifts? I don't know what you're talking about. Were they trying to deny the debt? I wasn't flustered at all. I slowly took out the list of gifts from when the engagement was made. 5 million in cash, plus the renewal contract for 2 floors of office space in the Glory building. Now that the engagement has been broken off, shouldn't it be returned to its rightful owner? As for the business partners I introduced to the Lin family, just consider me blind, and I won't bother calculating that with you in detail. I didn't push the Lin family to the brink. I can return the 5 million to you. As for the renewal contract for the office space, I'm sorry, that was signed by me and the chairman of the Glory Group personally. You just played a role in connecting us. Also, you did introduce a lot of business to the Lin family. Don't worry, I, Lin, am clear about gratitude and grudges, and I won't mistreat you. How about this? I'll transfer 5 million and 1 yuan to you. The extra 1 yuan will be considered your commission. Saying that, he clapped his hands and called the secretary over. Transfer 5 million and 1 yuan to little Li. The Lin family never owes anyone anything. This shameless appearance made me laugh in anger. The chairman of the Glory Group was my father. The contract for those 2 floors of office space was something I begged him for a long time before he agreed to it. In the beginning, their Lin family's business was on its last legs, and I was the one who introduced a large order for them. Now he dismisses it with a single sentence, using 1 yuan to buy out all my efforts. This isn't just being a scoundrel, it's humiliation. I coldly stared at this shameless couple. Sure enough, they're just like their daughter, also shameless. But they shouldn't think they can just rely on these things and get away with it. I expressionlessly dialed my dad's number. Dad, I want to drive the Lin family out of Glory Tower. On the other end of the phone, my dad only said one word, but his tone sounded very happy. I hung up the phone, and Lin's father couldn't help but laugh. Little Li, looking at your posture, anyone who didn't know would think you were the crown prince of the Glory Group. Lin's mother didn't laugh. She just glanced at me contemptuously. Your dad is just an ordinary senior executive at the Glory Group. What right does he have to drive us out of Glory Tower? The lease renewal contract was signed with the chairman himself. If you ask me, you shouldn't even get this 1 yuan because you, this good-for-nothing, aren't even worth that much. I, the dignified crown prince of the Glory Group, in their eyes, wasn't even worth 1 yuan. I took out my phone and posted a WeChat moment with the caption. Marriage contract terminated. Glory Group and all its subsidiaries will cease all cooperation with the Lin family. Violators will be held accountable. After doing all this, I looked back at Lena in the corner. Her parents were so shameless, yet she never came out to stop them, nor did she say a single word. Amidst the Lin family's contemptuous and mocking gazes, I left the Lin residence. Laugh. Let's see how long you can laugh. At this moment, a call came in. Young Master Li, did you cancel your engagement with Lena? Then will our team continue to cooperate with them? It was Professor Su. All projects are stopped. Await my notification. After hanging up the phone, I fell into thought. Shorewood Medical University had a very strong research force. In order to help Lena's company create a flagship product, I put in a lot of effort to invite Professor Su's team. The project was currently nearing completion and was about to succeed. However, Lena was destined to be in vain. I already had plans on how to arrange Professor Su's team. Within the inheritance I received from the ring, there was a recipe called Youth Preservation Pill, which had incredible effects on solving skin problems. I decided to make good use of the research team. In the previous life, Ethan used this recipe to attract a group of wealthy women in the upper circles. The wealthy women had all sorts of ambiguous relationships with him and used their connections to protect him. But now, he wouldn't have that chance. Soon, I arrived at the residence in the city center. Looking at the sturdy anti-theft door in front of me, I couldn't help but laugh mockingly at myself. I really was pathetic. Because Lena said she liked living in a lively place, I spent 200 million yuan to buy her a luxury apartment in the city center. After the house was decorated, she wouldn't even let me in. I hope you respect my personal privacy. Besides, relationships need to maintain a certain distance. Distance creates beauty, don't you think? I loved her to the bone. Although I was unhappy, I still agreed. But Ethan just mentioned that the dormitory was not comfortable to live in, and she couldn't wait to invite Ethan to move in. The two of them lived together like newlyweds, using the house I bought as their love nest. Not only that, Ethan also met a female neighbor, Susan, here, who was the second female lead in the novel. Susan was plotted against at a young age and was paralyzed in her lower limbs. After Ethan obtained the inheritance, he helped her stand up from her wheelchair. From then on, Susan was grateful to him. It was also with Susan's powerful background that he had smooth sailing in my past life. The female lead's background greatly contributed to my family's downfall. Even though Susan and the Sue family didn't directly attack me, many partners were wary of the Sue family's influence and chose to stand idly by when my family was in trouble. However, now that I've been reborn, I certainly won't let Ethan move in. This powerful network is mine now. Fortunately, at this point in time, the house had been renovated, but the ownership hadn't been transferred yet, saving me a lot of trouble. I instructed the bodyguard to break the door open, then buy a new digital lock and replace it. A few minutes later, I looked at this mansion that I had spent so much effort decorating, nodding in satisfaction. Walking into the master bedroom, I saw an unopened suitcase along with several bulging packages. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't expect it to be so coincidental. It turned out that Ethan had just moved his luggage in. He hadn't even had time to make the bed before I caught him red-handed. I had the bodyguard pack up his belongings and throw them into the hallway. Then I leaned back comfortably on the balcony recliner, enjoying the riverside breeze while pondering the plot. According to the original plot, Ethan would find a valuable item in the antique market today. He would buy a fake painting for 500 yuan and then pull out a famous painting from the scroll, which would be bought by a collector for a sky-high price of 40 million, thus obtaining his first pot of gold. Since I've been reborn, I naturally won't let him successfully find the valuable item. Go to the antique market and secretly follow Ethan. If he wants to buy a painting, stop him and bring that painting back. Yes, sir. Just as I was about to rest, a phone call came in. Len, you're getting bold. I haven't settled the ring theft with you yet, and you're already causing more trouble. Glory Building would rather pay a penalty fee than renew the lease. Did you do that? Your dad is just an ordinary executive. Doing this not only damages the interests of my Lin family but also the interests of the Glory Group. This is a criminal offense, you know. Immediately find a way to recover the losses, and I'll forgive you. Otherwise, I'll find a way to contact the chairman of the Glory Group and report this, and have your dad arrested and thrown in jail. She still couldn't see herself clearly, as always. I sneered and said, the ring was mine in the first place, and kicking the Lin family out of Glory Building was also my doing. Feel free to report it. With the Lin family's insignificant status, you'll be lucky if you can even meet the chairman. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Clearly, she had already tried to contact him but couldn't reach him at all, so she had no choice but to call me, hoping to achieve her goal by threatening me. Seeing my firm attitude, Lena's tone softened slightly for once, but she still maintained her superior attitude. You win. Have your dad help the Lin family one more time as a reward. I can let you touch my hand. Haven't you been hoping for it for a long time? Your wish has come true. Good heavens. She was clearly begging me, yet she still acted like she was bestowing something upon me. Where was her face? My tone turned cold. No need. I'm not interested in the limbs of inferior animals. After speaking, I hung up the phone. At this moment, the bodyguard had already brought back the painting. I unwrapped the scroll, and sure enough, pulled out an ancient painting from inside. Hiding a painting in the scroll, that's quite novel. Hang both of these paintings on the wall as a memento. Yes, young master. The digital door lock suddenly emitted a prompt sound. Sorry, wrong password. Please re-enter. Looking at the video intercom, I saw Ethan standing at the door. I couldn't help but curl my lips into a smile. Because I had intercepted the ancient painting, his protagonist halo had become weaker. He looked very dejected. I couldn't help but chuckle. I returned to the sofa and continued playing the game, too lazy to open the door and bother with him. Until 20 minutes later, the door lock beeped again. Sorry, incorrect password. Please re-enter. This time, Lena also appeared outside the door. She was looking at the door lock with a puzzled expression. That's strange. The password is correct. Why can't I open it? Then she turned to Ethan and said, "How about we pry the lock open?" Seeing that I still wasn't opening the door, these two were going to pry the lock. I couldn't hold back any longer and pushed the door open. Do you guys have any sense of the law? Prying a lock and breaking into a house is a crime, you know that. Lena didn't expect that I would be here, wearing pajamas. She questioned me with a nasty expression. "Len, I haven't settled the score with you for driving the Lin family out of Glory Tower yet. Who allowed you to come in here? Didn't I tell you that you're not welcome here? How can you be so oblivious to boundaries? I'm living in a house I bought myself. Do I need your approval?" Lena looked at me with disdain. "So what if you bought it? You still need my permission to live here, right? Hurry up and move out and clean up your garbage too. Ethan is moving in today, and he's not comfortable having other guys here." I was choked by her words. Did she think I wanted to live with these two lovebirds? What was she thinking of? Of course, I didn't plan to live with these two lovebirds either. I bought this house, and the property certificate was in my name. Naturally, I was the one living here. So please get out. Lena looked at me in disbelief. Does it matter who bought the house? Besides, you already gave it to me. It's completely my freedom to decide who lives here. Why are you interfering? As a man, can't you have a little bit of gentlemanly manners? I had no patience to argue with them anymore. Stop talking nonsense. Get out of here. If you dare to trespass, I'll call the police. Ethan was a true genius. He was definitely going to soar in the future. If you know what's good for you, quickly move out and let him live here. When he becomes successful, he will naturally remember your kindness. It would have been better if she hadn't mentioned that. The mention of it caused a stabbing pain in my chest. In the last life, he stepped on my family to soar, but later, he not only cheated on me but also ended my life with a flying needle. I said coldly, "Get out." As I spoke, I turned around and went back into the house, deliberately revealing the newly hung painting. Ethan glanced at it, and his eyes turned red. "This is the painting I was looking at today. Was it you who had it snatched up? Was that even a question? Otherwise, where would so many coincidences come from?" I pretended to be surprised and asked, "Oh, so you're the one who couldn't come up with 2,000 yuan?" Being repeatedly intercepted by me and now humiliated like this. Ethan's protagonist aura was weakened again. He couldn't take it anymore and turned around, erupting in a roar. "Enough. Everything that belongs to me, I will take it all back sooner or later. Everything that belongs to you." I frowned and sized him up. The ring is an heirloom, the house was bought with my money, and even the antique painting was sold to the highest bidder. How did they become things that belong to you? Ethan was stunned for a moment, then became angry out of humiliation, ignoring the facts. Shouldn't these things belong to me? Ignoring the facts. What a phrase. Damn it, this chosen one protagonist is too domineering. So in your opinion, if you can't get a bargain, it's like losing something. Everything should belong to you. A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes. His tone was faintly tinged with coldness. "Young Master Li, let me give you a piece of advice. Well, these next few days, after all, misfortune can strike at any moment. You never know, you might contract some strange disease someday." He was threatening me right under the nose of my bodyguards. I couldn't help but curl my lips into a smile and ordered the bodyguards, drag him to the fire escape and beat him up. If he calls the police, pull up the surveillance footage and sue him for breaking and entering with the intent to steal valuable cultural relics, a painting worth 40 million. As soon as I said that, Ethan's face changed drastically. Bullying the weak with numbers, this isn't fair. I had already received the inheritance. Even in a one-on-one fight, I wouldn't fear him, but why bother? I didn't want to dirty my hands. With a light wave of my hand, 4 burly bodyguards swarmed him, grabbed Ethan like a chick, and headed straight for the fire escape. Lena screamed, trying to stop them, but it was futile. 5 minutes later, Lena, crying, helped the bruised and swollen Ethan out of the stairwell. She accused me, "Jealousy really changes a person. Just because I don't want to marry you, you hurt brother Ethan like this. How could you become so vicious? I hope you quickly return to how you were before. Don't make any more mistakes. Quickly transfer the house to brother Ethan as compensation for his injuries, and I'll forgive you." Ethan nodded in agreement, looking like he approved. "Yeah, since you've said so, as long as he compensates me with the house, I'll give you that face." Unfortunately, his mouth was bleeding, and his eyes were so swollen he couldn't open them. He looked ridiculously comical. Even in this state, he still dared to covet my house. I glanced at Ethan with a half-smile. Ethan shuddered at my gaze and quickly pulled Lena away. After dealing with the house issue, I entered the Glory Group as an intern. My father arranged for Deputy Manager Lee from the marketing department to follow me and guide me in familiarizing myself with business operations. "Young master, we found potential clients for the 2 vacant floors of office space. Would you like to meet with them?" "All right." I went to the floor I used to frequent the most. Unexpectedly, I saw 2 familiar faces. It was Lena's parents. At this moment, Lynn's mother was arrogantly directing the movers. "Be careful. Our company is purchasing high-end computers. You can't afford to break them. And that typewriter, go help him put it in a packing box before moving it onto the truck." When she saw me come over, Lynn's mother glared at me but didn't say anything. However, Lynn's father immediately saw Manager Lee behind me. His eyes widened, his tone containing a threat. "The contract I signed with the chairman personally, is it something you father and son can shake? If you know what's good for you, quickly rescind the decision and invite my company back. Then I won't pursue the matter. Otherwise, I'll accuse you of abuse of power for violating the interests of the Glory Group." He was treating Manager Lee as my executive father, so he immediately gave him a dressing down. Manager Lee looked at me with a puzzled expression. I turned to look at Lynn's father. "Suit yourself. But instead of scaring me, you should pay more attention to the office supplies. When you're down on your luck in the future, you can exchange them for some money to eat." Seeing that I didn't fall for his act, Lynn's father could only reluctantly soften his tone. "It's not impossible for you to correct your mistake. Rescind the decision to kick us out and have those breaching customers come back to me. Then I won't report you." I almost laughed. He clearly wanted to ask me to help him again, but who was he trying to put on airs for? I couldn't help but curl my lips. "You may have forgotten what you said, but I still remember it. Everything I do is only worth $1. As I spoke, I took out a $1 coin and threw it in front of him. "Take this $1. Your family only has a few major clients. Give each of them 20 cents, and you'll definitely be able to renegotiate the orders." I believe in the Lin family's strength. Lin's father didn't expect that even after softening his attitude, I still wouldn't forgive him. His face immediately darkened. Just then, Lena suddenly burst in. "Dad, he's just a useless playboy. You don't need to pay attention to him. My company is about to go public, and then our Lin family will naturally make a comeback, becoming a presence they can't afford to associate with." Lin's father was stunned for a moment. "Company going public? Are you serious?" "Of course it's true. Even if you don't believe me, you should trust Professor Sue's team from Shorewood Medical University. Her team has strong scientific research capabilities, and their strength is beyond doubt. I've already notified the media and will hold a press conference in a week. The product launch time has even been set." As she spoke, she glanced at me meaningfully. After all, people always have the right to dream. It was moral for me to wake her up at this time. Lin's father thought he had something to rely on. He looked at Manager Lee with an unfriendly expression. "I won't rent the office building anymore. When my daughter's company successfully goes public, I'll have her talk to the chairman properly about your unauthorized termination of the lease agreement. If you're smart, find a way to bring back the Lin family's orders. After all, business people only look at profits. Why be upset over some trivial matters? Think about it carefully. I'll wait for your reply." Manager Lee wasn't interested in continuing to watch the Lin family move. I turned around and followed Manager Lee to inspect other floors. Of course, as an intern afterward, I contacted Professor Sue's team. I gave her the beauty pill formula, and with my father's help, I negotiated with the university leaders to rent the university laboratory equipment. After purchasing a batch of rare medicinal herbs needed for the experiment, the research project began to get on the right track. I started running between the school and the group company, completely swamped every day. I was either familiarizing myself with the company's projects with Manager Lee or communicating with Professor Su about the ancient methods of preparing medicinal herbs. I simply didn't have time to pay attention to Ethan and Lena. I saw them again during a graduation outing on the bus. Ethan and Lena were sitting together, and the two of them looked very well matched. Unlike the previous life, Ethan's protagonist halo was weakened, and he was surrounded by fewer beautiful women. Instead, some people privately discussed Ethan's character, saying that his values were incorrect. I couldn't help but curl up the corners of my mouth. Today's journey was destined to be not peaceful. Because according to the plot development, today Ethan would accidentally be bitten by a venomous snake and poisoned with love poison, and Lena would refuse the doctor's treatment and personally use her body to detoxify him, and the two of them would finally get together. I recalled the inheritance in the ring. As far as I knew, every type of poison that could make people poisoned with love had very high research value. If I could really encounter it, I must not miss it. For this reason, I specifically arranged for people in advance. Soon, we arrived at the destination. Ethan and Lena didn't know where they wanted to fool around. I didn't pay attention either, after all, there were professionals following them. Soon, Ethan came back. Lena followed him every step of the way. Not far from them was the teacher in charge of this trip, who was also the director of the emergency department of the affiliated hospital. Student being bitten by a snake is no small matter. Ethan refused. It's just some love poison. I can handle it, so I won't bother you, teacher. The teacher in charge was stunned. What kind of poison did you say? I've never heard of it. Lena's face flushed slightly. There's no need for antivenom. I can detoxify this kind of snake venom. Teacher, please move away. Don't affect me from detoxifying him. As she said, the two ran away quickly. I looked at them suspiciously and always felt that something was not quite right. After the outing, when I saw the snake, my face instantly darkened. This is not some rare venomous snake at all. It's just an ordinary rat snake. Saying he was poisoned with love poison. Fooling ghosts. The claim of love poison was simply nonsense. The drone footage was very clear. The two found a cave, and like dry firewood meeting a raging fire, they impatiently began to detoxify. In my past life, my head was full of Lena, and I never doubted her. I believed everything she said and deserved to be completely fooled. This video would become the sword that destroys the protagonist halo. The fall of the Lin family. The day after the outing, Lena was besieged by various self-media outlets at her doorstep. Regarding your company's newly developed product, is there anything you can reveal? Lena looked radiant and proud. Nothing to disclose for the time being. Please be patient. All questions will be answered later. As she spoke, she specifically dissed me. Here, I want to say something to certain people. All Lena has achieved today is through her own efforts. What I despise the most are those who only know how to throw money around to chase girls. I watched all of this through the live broadcast and couldn't help but sneer. She despised me for using money to pursue her but never rejected any of the gifts I sent. On the contrary, she would turn against me if I asked for them back. With that, how could she have the face to put on a pretense of integrity in front of the camera? I called Professor Su. Are you ready? Don't worry, young Master Lee. Everything has been arranged according to instructions. 20 minutes passed quickly. At the Self-Media's interview site, suddenly, someone started shouting. Professor Su of Shorewood Medical University, on behalf of the team, has issued a statement. She says the team's partner has never been Lena's company but a person named Lan Lee. She also said that she has never actually cooperated with Lena's company, and the so-called research project is out of the question. What a big scoop. Let me take a look. So will Director Lin's company still go public? A shell company with no products at all, how can it go public? The scene exploded in an instant. In the live broadcast room, Lena's confident expression was gone. She took out her phone and searched. Soon, her face turned pale. She frantically dialed the phone, but no one answered on the other end. Lena was as crestfallen as if she had lost her parents, but she had to deal with the media. I'm sorry. Regarding the product launch and the company's listing, no comment. Please pay attention to the company's subsequent announcements. After speaking, she returned to the courtyard of the villa and closed the gate, leaving the media reporters at the scene looking at each other. Lena's research project fell through, unable to continue painting a rosy picture for the shareholders. The bank soon came to collect the debt. The Lin family's family business had already gone bankrupt and closed down. Now, not only was Lena's company hopeless to go public, but it also owed the bank a huge debt. The already precarious Lin family was now even worse off. In less than a week, the Lin family's villa was listed on the judicial auction website. Moreover, all corporate accounts were frozen, and even the cars were seized by the court. That day, I met Ethan and Lena just as I was leaving the laboratory building. Ethan now looked no different from an ordinary person. In the original plot, the Lin family provided Ethan with a lot of funding. Now that the Lin family was bankrupt, it was a big blow to Ethan. It almost cut off his hope of rising. At this moment, the two of them were looking at me hatefully. You did this, didn't you? You not only ruined the Lin family but also destroyed Lena's company, which was the result of her hard work. Why do you have to destroy her efforts? Go and explain the situation to Professor Su immediately and let her hand over the research results. Otherwise, you will regret it. Even now, these two still couldn't see themselves clearly. Lena's hard work, without me, she was nothing. And now they were threatening me. I was too lazy to pay attention to these two idiots and turned around and left. That day, my phone pushed me a trending video. A startup genius was tragically abandoned by her boyfriend and suffered retaliatory actions that led to her company's bankruptcy. This was exactly what Lena posted in the video. Lena looked weak and innocent, wiping away tears in front of the camera. I built my company through my own effort, and it was about to go public. I couldn't wait to share the joy with my boyfriend, but I didn't expect to catch him cheating with Professor Su from my company's research team. The two of them conspired to ruin my company in order to monopolize the research results. Sob, sob, sob. Lena in front of the camera looked like a pearl blossom in the rain, earning enough sympathy from netizens. Everyone denounced the situation and asked who Lena's scumbag boyfriend was. Lena looked embarrassed. I can't casually expose other people's privacy. There's not much to say, not much I can tell everyone except his last name is Lee, and his father is a senior executive at the Glory Group. Manager Lee happened to have a son studying abroad. He was about my age, and his information was unknown to the outside world. So he innocently took the blame, transforming from a conscientious worker into the father of a Wanku playboy. Netizens were very efficient at finding information. The only drawback was that they were wrong. My dad had always been low-key and never announced his children's information to the public. Unexpectedly, it caused misunderstandings among netizens. At this moment, I posted a video of our outing without hesitation. The key parts were blurred. The video immediately went viral. Netizens felt deceived. The reputations of the two became increasingly bad. Ethan had to come out and clarify. You misunderstood. At that time, I was bitten by a snake and was poisoned with love poison. Lena had to sacrifice herself to detoxify me. Netizens immediately exploded. In the previous life, when their affair was exposed, Ethan also said he had been poisoned with love poison. Some people questioned Ethan's statement at the time, but because of the halo effect of the protagonist, most people chose to believe it. And even those who didn't believe it eventually chose to ignore it. But this life was different. The protagonist halo on Ethan had dimmed greatly. To talk nonsense in this situation was just asking for death, wasn't it? As expected, before I could speak, netizens started to question. Sorry, I've checked many professional books and haven't found any such poison. Where did you get your inspiration from? Can you share it with me? My friend said he wants to read it. What I didn't expect was that at a critical moment, Professor Su stood up. She posted a video. Netizens are very concerned about whether love poison exists. I can say responsibly that I don't know if it existed in ancient times, but as far as all known species to humans are concerned, no so-called love poison has ever been found. Even a respected expert came out to speak. The online public opinion began to swing overwhelmingly towards my side. Taking advantage of the highest level of public attention, I released a video. It was the clip of Ethan being bitten by a snake, taken by a drone. The high-definition camera zoomed in, and everyone could clearly see that it was just an ordinary grass snake. The incident itself had a high level of attention. Now, the online public opinion exploded. Holy crap, this grass snake is even thicker than my pinky finger. Fortunately, Lena dedicated herself to detoxifying him in time. If it had been a few minutes later, Ethan's wound would have healed. What do you know? This is an ancient exotic species. Isn't it normal to be poisoned with love poison after being bitten? The person upstairs is right. I just bought an ancient exotic species online yesterday as a pet. I won't say any more. My boyfriend was just bitten by an ancient exotic species. I'm going to detoxify him. See you later. Netizens were having a blast. Being bitten by an ancient exotic species causes love poison became a meme, spreading throughout the entire internet. In just 2 days, Ethan also became a well-known figure. His reputation was completely ruined. That day, I suddenly heard a cracking sound from the void. At that moment, I knew Ethan's protagonist halo had shattered. Because I was in a good mood, I drank a little red wine. In a daze, I was awakened by the ringing of the phone. I picked up the phone and saw it was Professor Sue calling. Come to the school quickly. The laboratory has been invaded. I hung up the phone and rushed to the school in a hurry. When I arrived, the police found silver needles under the damaged surveillance camera. Ethan. I was absolutely certain in my heart. He knew there were valuable scientific research results in the laboratory, so it was normal for him to target it. The police initially judged it as a crime committed by someone familiar with the situation, and I was listed as a key suspect. Just when I thought the surveillance camera at my door could provide proof for me, the unexpected happened. The surveillance camera at my door had actually been damaged a few days ago. This was a premeditated frame-up, a double whammy. I was taken away by the police to assist in the investigation. Soon, the police told me that someone wanted to meet me, and I agreed. Ethan and Lena, this despicable couple, looked at me with resentment. Do you know you regret it now? You should have thought about today when you brought down the Lin family and destroyed my company. This time, the opponent I chose for you is the Glory Group. The scientific research results in that laboratory belong to the Glory Group. They won't let you go, and you are just the son of an ordinary senior executive. This time, I'll see how you turn things around. This outcome is your retribution. This despicable couple actually wanted to use the power of the Glory Group to suppress me. I had to say they stepped on a steel plate this time. I was the crown prince of the Glory Group, and the scientific research results in the laboratory originally belonged to me. Did I need to steal them? I didn't speak. I just stared at them coldly. The two of them even started showing off their affection in front of me. Just then, a middle-aged man who looked like a leader walked into the reception room. I'm sorry, young Master Lee. This is just a misunderstanding. I apologize for the recklessness of my subordinates. The procedures have been completed. You can leave at any time. We will continue to follow up on the truth and expect to have results soon. Ethan was stunned. You're mistaken. He is a suspect. How can you just let him go? Lena also unhappily pointed out, is this your attitude towards handling cases? Releasing bad people casually and causing a negative impact, can you take responsibility for that? I couldn't help but curl the corners of my mouth. Before I could speak, the middle-aged leader frowned and scolded, young Master Lee is the crown prince of the Glory Group. Not to mention the scientific research results of that laboratory, the entire Glory Group will belong to him in the future. What motive does he have to steal his own things? What Ethan and Lena were both stunned. The expressions on their faces cracked inch by inch, and soon turned into a mourning face. Tears wouldn't come. They never imagined that the person they had painstakingly framed, who they thought was the son of an ordinary senior executive, turned out to be someone they couldn't afford to associate with, the crown prince of the Glory Group. They were still mocking me just now, saying that I had offended the Glory Group. As a result, in less than 10 minutes, they were the ones who had offended the Glory Group. The things they did were thought to be rigorous, but as long as they were investigated carefully, the truth would come out sooner or later. Why did you hide your identity when you were with me? How can you be so malicious? Ethan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He turned around, grabbed Lena, and left, wanted to run away quickly after offending the Glory Group, but they were destined to fail. The police quickly found out. Ethan was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for stealing major scientific research results. Lena was also sentenced to 1 year in prison as an accomplice. 2 years later, I inherited the Glory Group and became its leader. The research and development results of the youth preservation pill had been widely applied. The Glory Group had leaped to become a world-class enterprise. I was also cooperating with Professor Sue's team to develop other medicinal formulas inherited from my family. This day, my people sent me a message. Lena has also become crazy and was released early. Now she often rummages through trash cans for food. And Ethan has escaped from prison and is currently wanted. A turbulent time indeed. I sighed, put down my phone, but I didn't pay much attention. After all, Ethan's protagonist halo had been shattered, and now he was just an ordinary person. He could no longer pose a threat to me. Just then, the phone rang. It was Susan, the second female lead in the book. Since I cured her paralysis in the past 2 years, she always liked to visit my house, sometimes making excuses that it was too late and staying in the guest room. I smiled, got up, and opened the door for her. Susan was a little different today. She drank alcohol, and her beautiful face was full of laziness, adding a lot of charm. I invited her to have a midnight snack, but she ignored me and instead mustered up the courage to come to the cage. Not only that, she also put her hand into the cage and directly grabbed the food to feed the small finger-thick calico snake. Be careful. But it was too late. Susan pulled her hand out with a sad face, pouted her lips, and looked pitiful. I was bitten by an ancient exotic snake and poisoned with lust. Young hero, save me. I could naturally see Susan's thoughts. Today, she even drank to embolden herself, and it was no longer just an insinuation. It was clear that she wanted to break through our relationship. However, the tragic experience of my previous life left a knot in my heart that I couldn't untie. Although she and the Sue family didn't directly deal with me, the decline of my family was also partly due to the influence of her family. I couldn't let it go so easily. Coming back to my senses, Susan was looking at me with slightly red eyes. If you don't save me, the wound will heal. I picked up the red wine and drank it all in one gulp. I'll disinfect you. No need for an antidote. Susan was stunned. Large tears fell, and she covered her face and ran away. Before leaving, she left a sentence. I never want to see you again. I hardened my heart and didn't chase after her, watching this woman who stood against me in my previous life leave sadly. I felt inexplicably irritable. Damn it. I muttered in a low voice and poured myself another glass of red wine. Because of being rejected, Susan had been avoiding me these past few days. Suddenly losing someone who often came to freeload meals and stay overnight, I inexplicably felt empty inside. I could only focus on my work. This day, I dragged my tired body back home and found someone standing at the door. A ragged woman emitting a foul smell was standing there blankly, looking a little mentally unstable. It was Lena, who had been released early. Seeing me, a moment of clarity flashed in Lena's eyes. Len, if I tell you that the past me was like a dream, in the dream, I was involuntarily, my thoughts were controlled, and now the dream is finally woken up, would you believe me? Because the protagonist halo shattered, had the female lead finally become a normal person? I carefully looked at Lena. At this moment, the inherent stubbornness in her eyes was gone, and she looked like a normal girl. You were so good to me, but I turned a blind eye. But Ethan, that scumbag, only needed one look, and I actually treated him like a treasure. Just thinking about being with him makes me want to vomit. The regret and pain in her eyes didn't seem fake. I believed what she said. This was the world of the book, nothing made sense. I naturally understood what the female lead said. As a vassal of the protagonist, she was also involuntary. Hearing what I said, Lena's eyes lit up, her tone filled with hope. Then, Len, can you still accept me? Acceptance was naturally impossible. Although I understood her, unfortunately, that couldn't be a reason for me to forgive her. The hurt she gave me in this life and the last was not so easily forgotten. I looked at Lena with a smile that wasn't a smile. What do you think? Lena's face stiffened, and the light in her eyes dimmed. You know I'm not in control of myself. Don't drive me away, please. She quickly knelt on the ground, begging for my forgiveness. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have a shred of sympathy. I disgustedly covered my nose. If you want to kneel, please find another place. You smell like garbage all over. Don't dirty my building hallway. Lena looked at me in disbelief. At this moment, she finally noticed her disheveled appearance and ran away in shame. I noticed that the clarity in her eyes disappeared the moment she turned around. The female lead had a brief moment of lucidity and then went crazy again. I couldn't help but shake my head. Perhaps for her, this was a form of escape. The next time I saw her, she was in the residential area, fighting with stray cats for food. Young master, should we drive her away? Forget it. Just a dog without a home. She can't cause any trouble. I didn't continue to pay attention to Lena. I thought she would always be muddled like this. Unexpectedly, an accident still happened. That day, I returned to the residential area and encountered an unexpected person. Ethan, didn't he break out of prison? He actually appeared in my residential area openly. What did he want to do? Wasn't he afraid of being caught by the police? Beside the garbage dump in the residential area, Ethan was looking at Lena with a pained expression. I'm Ethan. Why don't you remember me? Unfortunately, Lena just stared at him foolishly, drooling. Don't be afraid. I will definitely cure you. As he spoke, Ethan pulled out a silver needle and inserted it into Lena's head. I had to say, Ethan's original acupuncture skills were quite good. After a few minutes, Lena woke up. Ethan, why are you so persistent? Go away. Who allowed you to get close to me? You ruined me. Do you know that? If it weren't for your appearance, Len would never have left me. I wouldn't have fallen from a proud daughter of heaven into a mad woman. Ethan was stunned for a moment, frowning as he asked, Aya, how have you changed? Didn't you used to look down on Len, that good-for-nothing young master, the most? Lena looked at him with a face full of resentment. Len loved me so much back then. He couldn't wait to give me his heart. But later, everything was gone. It's you. It's all you. The protagonist's personality had always been self-centered, so naturally, he wouldn't think he was wrong. Facing Lena's accusations, Ethan only paused for a moment before starting to lecture. I've misjudged you. You never cared about material things before. I gave you a grass-woven ring, and you were happy all day. Now you're full of the smell of money and still thinking about Len, that playboy. I'm really disappointed in you. I couldn't help but chuckle. What does this have to do with caring about material things or not? The previous female lead was completely blinded by the protagonist halo. Now that she's awake, she can see everything clearly. Okay, unfortunately, Ethan couldn't see this point. He believed that it was all because of his own charm and that Lena's love for him should be true love. Ethan stood up, put his hands behind his back, and deliberately struck a handsome pose. Have you forgotten our vows of eternal love? All along, when I was bitten by the ancient strange snake, you saved me without regard for your own safety. Have you thrown all your love for me to the back of your mind? It would have been better if he hadn't mentioned this. Lena looked ashamed and angry, shook off his arm, and slapped him hard. You're shameless. Ethan was stunned. He looked at Lena in disbelief. You were always mine. Why are you doing this to me? Get lost. Ethan couldn't accept the heroine's betrayal. He questioned in despair, it's all because of that Wanku, Len, isn't it? I knew it. Everything changed after meeting him. He stole my ring and ancient painting, and he even stole my house. Now he even wants to steal my woman. At this moment, Ethan finally noticed me. In an instant, he pulled out a dagger and rushed over with red eyes. You stole everything from me. Die. It all happened so fast that I couldn't react at all. At that critical moment, a weak figure rushed over and blocked the dagger for me. Poof. A burst of blood spurted out, and Susan clutched her stomach and fell. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I took out silver needles and threw them with a flick of my wrist. Ethan fell down in response. Only then did I come back to my senses and hurriedly help Susan up. "I've been so cold to you. How could you be so foolish?" Susan's face was pale, and she weakly opened her mouth and said, "I'm afraid I won't make it. Before I die, can you not reject me?" As she spoke, her blood-stained hand reached for my face, staring at me. At that moment, I only felt a heart-wrenching pain. I was only concerned with the grievances of my previous life and actually rejected such a good girl. It was really wrong of me. She was willing to give her life for me. What knots did I have that I couldn't let go of? I held her hand and wiped away a tear. "Don't worry. I will definitely save you." I quickly applied several needles to Susan, sealing the acupoints. Soon, her bleeding stopped. While waiting for the ambulance, I also called the police. Fugitive Ethan injured someone in the residential area and has been subdued by me. The police reacted quickly to the assault of a wanted criminal and arrived at the residential area in a few minutes. Ethan was still clamoring at me as he was being taken away. "Len, you're too despicable. You stole everything from me. You wait, I will never let you go." Unfortunately, the only response he received was the heavy clank of shackles. The operating room lights went off, and the doctor walked out with a calm expression. "Thanks to your hemostatic measures, the patient is out of danger." I breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that she was okay. A few days later, Susan was discharged from the hospital. I took her to my house to take care of her and cooked her nutritious meals every day. Soon, she fully recovered. This day, Susan drank another large glass of red wine, looking at me with hazy eyes, occasionally glancing at the cage containing the pet snake. I laughed awkwardly a couple of times. "This isn't really necessary, right? It hurts to be bitten." Susan stubbornly pouted, not saying a word. Helplessly, I bit the bullet and put my hand into the cage. Soon, I was bitten by a rat snake. "I'm poisoned." As soon as I said the words, Susan quickly kissed me. "Young hero, don't panic. I'll detoxify you." Epilogue, a new beginning. Half a year later, Susan and I held a grand wedding. The alliance of the two powerful families had a result greater than the sum of their parts. The industrial layout was now complete, and both sides had taken a step forward. Soon after the wedding, we had a lovely daughter. One day, having some free time, I took Susan and our daughter to the amusement park. Someone under my command gave me a call. Ethan died of a sudden myocardial infarction while working in prison. That self-righteous protagonist was finally dead. At that moment, I felt like the sky had become much brighter. Susan looked at me strangely. "I feel like you suddenly changed somehow." I smiled and asked her, "Do you believe that there are protagonists in this world?" Susan closed her eyes and sensed for a moment. "I used to think that way, but now it's different. Each of us is the protagonist of our own story." I was stunned for a moment, then chuckled to myself. "You're right. The concept of a protagonist shouldn't exist in the first place. It should have been like this all along, each of us being the protagonist of our own story." Just then, my daughter climbed onto the slide and accidentally fell. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman rushed out from the side and caught her. Such a young child, not watching her properly. Parents these days are so careless. Hearing that familiar voice, I was stunned. Looking inside the coffee shop, I saw the resurrected Lena with surprise. "What are you doing now?" After she explained, I quickly understood her situation. After the Lin family went bankrupt, Lin's mother couldn't bear the fall and jumped off a pedestrian bridge. Lin's father was kidnapped by debt collectors and taken to Southeast Asia, never to return. After Lena was cured by Ethan, she found a baby girl while wandering the streets. She supported her by begging. Later, kind people sponsored her, so she opened an orphanage, specializing in caring for abandoned children. As she recounted all this, her eyes sparkled. Susan urged me to donate some money to her, but I ignored it. After separating from Lena, one of my men called me. "We've confirmed it. She does run an orphanage, taking care of more than a dozen children. Currently, she's running at a loss and goes out to collect scraps in her spare time. It was then that I remembered when Lena helped my daughter up, there were several plastic bottles next to her. At that moment, I felt a sense of relief. Perhaps this was what the female lead was originally supposed to be like. Call the charitable foundation under my name and allocate funds to build her a bigger orphanage. Yes, young master. Extra chapter, The Fall of the Protagonist. My name is Ethan. From the day I was born, I knew that I was different from others. No matter what I do, I easily succeed. Anything I want, I don't need to work hard to get it, someone will naturally deliver it to me, including the women I like. I don't need to pursue them. With just a glance, they will naturally throw themselves into my arms. I have a premonition that I will soon make a great career. I was admitted to Shorewood Medical University. When I met the campus belle Lena, I knew in my heart that she would bring a huge change to my life. One day, a ring appeared on Lena's hand. I knew in my heart that it was important to me. Knowing her as I did, as long as I asked, Lena would definitely give me the ring. Unfortunately, at this time, Len appeared. He was a spoiled rich kid, and I despise people like him who had no real talent. I didn't expect that he would want to take the ring back. At that moment, I admit I panicked. My kind words were of no use, Len still insisted on taking back the ring. Forced to, I tried to exchange it for a favor because it had always worked for me. I never had to give anything when I asked for favors. As long as I said, I owe you a favor, the other person would know that he had gotten a good deal. However, I miscalculated. Even if I was willing to offer 2 favors, Len wouldn't give up the ring. In the end, he even called the police. The police didn't care about my favors at all, and I was taken to the police car to make a statement. When I saw the ring again, it no longer attracted me. At that moment, I knew I had lost something very important, and my heart felt empty. Life had to go on. This time, I followed my intuition to Antique Street. I took a liking to a fake painting, but I felt that the weight of the scroll was wrong. My intuition told me that I had to buy it, otherwise, I would definitely regret it. Unfortunately, a bodyguard-looking man wanted to compete with me. I didn't have enough money, and he bought the painting. Disappointment filled my heart. Another very important thing was lost. I returned to the house Lena had lent me, but to my fury, I found Len living there. This house is great. Good things will happen living here. It doesn't matter that Len is here. As long as I drive him away, everything I lost will return. Unfortunately, I miscalculated. Even though I paid the price of 2 favors, Len still disdained me. He was completely different from others. My favors were completely useless to him. What a fool. Not only that, I also discovered that the painting I couldn't buy was in his hands. My guess was correct, there was indeed something hidden within the scroll. A chance worth tens of millions was stolen by Len. At that moment, I was beyond furious. Unfortunately, my anger was useless, and I was beaten up by the bodyguards. But it didn't matter. I wouldn't be easily defeated. Lena was very good to me, and her uncle and aunt also thought highly of me. As long as the Lin family didn't fall, I would eventually make a comeback. Unexpectedly, Len, why was he so persistent? The Lin family was ruined by him, and they could no longer provide me with help. I took a risk and conspired with Lena to steal from the laboratory and frame Len. I thought the Glory Group would settle accounts with Len. Unexpectedly, Len turned out to be the crown prince of the Glory Group. At that moment, I felt like the sky was falling. The police solved the case quickly, and I was sentenced. But the thought of Len still being outside, living freely, made me suffer unbearably. Everything I had was taken away by him. Why should he? So I escaped from prison. Reality gave me another blow. Lena no longer loved me. I had already lost everything. Losing Lena's love meant I had nothing left. It was all Len's fault. I pulled out a dagger and rushed towards him, but I stabbed a weak woman. Intuitively, I felt she was very important to me. Unfortunately, she stood in front of the enemy. At that moment, my heart turned to ashes. When Len's flying needle was thrown over, I gave up dodging. I entered prison for the second time. The security was even tighter. This time, I had no chance to escape again. Every day, I had to do heavy physical labor. My life was filled with despair. At this moment, I heard an elder's voice. That voice told me that I was originally the protagonist of this world, destined to make a great career. Unfortunately, in the end, I was sabotaged by a villain. Villain? Who could it be? It should be Len. After all, since he appeared, all my good things had been stolen by him. Ethan, time to work, the warden called me. Another day of heavy physical labor began. I only felt physically and mentally exhausted. I didn't want to live for another moment. After all, my original life shouldn't have been like this. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from my heart. A feeling of near death washed over me. As a medical student, I knew it was a heart attack. The guards were nearby. As long as I called for help, I would be sent to the hospital for rescue. I didn't call for help, just tightly covered my mouth. Slowly, consciousness began to leave me, and my life ended. The end.